Hi everyone. Just wanted to do is a sense check that you are able to hear me out. I'm clearly audible. Can someone really confirm in terms of whether you are able to hear me out and see me out properly? Just a confirmation would be very helpful before we really kick start. Can anyone please put that in the chat box, please, that you are able to hear me out properly? Just wanted to ensure that I am being heard rightly. All right. Thank you very much, Ishan. Very helpful. Thanks, Manpreet. Thanks. Very helpful. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining in. What we are here for? We are here for today to really deep dive into what we have. That is the Q&A session for the June 2022 exam. We have done a lot by now, my friend, in terms of what we intended to cover from the standpoint of covering the entire syllabus areas, and of course then deep diving into the revision boot camp, practicing the questions that are concept questions, the comprehensive questions, the past examination questions, and of course really excelling ourselves on the reading skills, writing skills, and the professional skills. Now is the time to really take on any kind of questions that you may have. I have already corrected the marks that you gave me. I've already given the feedback to many of the students in terms of how they're doing and what they're doing and where they're lacking and what should they be doing from the standpoint of clearing this exam in the best possible way. I just thought that before we really wrap up and hit the exam, we should certainly catch up and start discussing any kind of issues that you're still foreseeing where you need my help. But before we really get on there, I really wanted to bring few slides for you. What I've done is, and this is something I really wanted to, what I've done is that I've collated few last examiner reports to understand as to what the students have been doing. We have discussed a lot, my friend, on this in our sessions when we have done that together. Now is the time to really have a recap of that where the students are making mistakes, just to ensure that they have done it and we will not do it. It is always good to learn from your own mistakes, but it is always better to learn from the mistakes of others, and that's what we gonna be doing today, so that we are not letting any stone unturned before we really hit the exam. Alright, so what do we have in the agenda today? We have few ground rules, my friend, that all of us should be adhering to in the coming 45 to 60 minutes of time. What I'm trying to say is that we should not be getting onto our cell phones. Of course, if you're seeing this session on your cell phone, then it is okay, then there is no issue. But if that is not a session and you're really devoting your time somewhere else, I would say please come over here, spend 45 to 60 minutes with me, and then sky should be the limit. Alright, then we should not be doing any kind of WhatsApp, Facebook, whatsoever for coming 45 to 60 minutes. I want 110% dedication, concentration onto this session. We really have a lot to cover. We really have a lot to discuss in this, just to ensure that we are not missing on anything. All right, then when in doubt, you should certainly put your question. Certainly ask it. You have to ask anything and everything that may come your way, and I'm there to resolve that as much as possible. You should not carry question on your back when you're going back from the session. You should not do that. All right, let's make this as much interactive as possible. I really want you to do that, because we should not be missing on in terms of the conversation that we really needed to have. And that is one of the reasons you must have noticed, and many students would have seen that whenever I come live with any of the students, the first and the foremost thing is that you have to switch on your camera. It should be a live one-to-one chat in order to understand as to what you're doing and how you're really excelling on. All right, and last but not the least, we should certainly contribute your feedback. Any feedback that you may have, that will be more than I would say welcomed, from the standpoint of we improving ourselves. So any feedback, more than happy to take that on. All right, moving on, my friend, what we have in store today. I have a brief agenda for you, what I intend to cover today, but I really want to spend good amount of time today on the Q&A that we really need to cover. I really want to spend out time discussing and hearing out the questions that you may have to understand and of course answer it there and then. All right. So what is the agenda for the day today? We certainly want to go and deep dive into the analysis that I've created from the various ACCA examiner report of the Strategic Business Leader exam. What I've done is I've collated that, really have a feedback for you in terms of what the students have been doing and what you should be not be doing when you'll be hitting your exam in the best possible way. All right, we'll talk on that. Then I want to talk on various issues that are being observed in the exam, more from the technical knowledge standpoint, and then I want to spend out time in terms of discussing the issues that you may see from the professional skill standpoint. And those, for those who are really I would say struggling to come on and work on the professional skills, I do have one slide for you that would tell you in terms of what one should be doing from the professional skill standpoint, from the application of the professional skill standpoint in the Strategic Business Leader exam, so that you're not letting anything unanswered there from the standpoint of professional skills. Is that clear? Yes, sir. All right. Then I have few recommendations towards the end, because once we have understood the problem, once we have understood what the examiner is saying, once we have understood where the issues have been, the last and the least, and not the least, last and the foremost important thing is to understand as to what we can do to improve ourselves. And that's what I'm doing. I would be telling you my recommendations in terms of what you should be doing in the coming 7-8 days, just to ensure that you're not leaving anything that is important for you to clear this exam. So we'll talk on that towards the end, and then we should also be talking on the questions that you may have in your mind that you want me to pick up. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Isn't that the full-fledged agenda that you wanted in the last 10 days? Yes, sir. Should we jump in? Yes, sir. Alrighty, my friend. Before we really jump in there, for the folks who are seeing me for the first time, I really wanted to introduce myself to you first, because that would be the basic grounding that I need to have. My name is Pankaj Dhingra. I'm a qualified chartered accountant and a CPA from US. I have been into various corporates, working at various leadership positions in finance and of course in the organization at large. I've worked for organization Cargill Foods. I've also worked for Wipro. I've also worked for BlackRock and off late with the Boston Consulting Group, wherein I was heading their finance per se. Now, the important piece that you really need to know is that alongside when I've been doing all these jobs, I have always been I would say in the faculty domain in terms of teaching the students from the chartered accountancy world, from the CPA world, and from the ACCA world, and also from the IFRS standpoint. We have been closely knitted with various organizations in terms of what they really need from the standpoint of really mentoring their kids to really excel in all of these exams. Alrighty, I've also given my WhatsApp number and of course my contact details. So if you have any concerns, anything to ask with relation to the Strategic Business Leader exam, please feel free, drop a note to us. I will be happy to pick that up. Alright, moving on, my friend, what is the overall feedback that we have from the examiner from the standpoint of Strategic Business Leader as an exam? Strategic Business Leader as an exam is one of the most practical exam around the world, my friend. And I keep saying that like a broken record, that this exam is the most commonsensical exam in the world in the professional exam fraternity. This exam really tests your patience, your professionalism, your business sense, and your ability to sail through an organization when the problem really comes up over there. And that's the intent of the examiner when he gives you a case in the exam along with various exhibits which you really need to read on, and then get on to the problems that are being given to you and be there as the strategic business leader from the standpoint of understanding and resolving and recommending these solutions. That's what examiner really expects, and that's what you really need to do. That is something we have covered in detail in our sessions also, my friend, in terms of you getting on to the various SBL syllabus areas. And of course, what we have also covered over there is we have covered various concept, comprehensive and past examination questions, just to give you flavor as to how examiner has been asking that. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Alrighty, moving on, my friend, we have the feedback from the examiner over here, which I really wanted you to pen down, that this is what examiners have been saying all throughout in the SBL exam in various settings that have happened in the past. If you go through the past examiner report, this is the summary that you would extract out from there in terms of what examiner has been saying that students have been lacking on. All right, the first thing first is examiner always says that students are lacking in their reading skills. They're not reading the question properly. Big time issue. You should not do that. Always ensure that you're reading the question with an intent of consuming the information as much as possible and ensuring that you're not missing on the stress words, you're not missing on the important pointers, you're able to correlate the case to the exhibits, the exhibit to the other exhibit, and so on and so forth. You should not miss on that. The same practice we have done in our video question marathon, wherein I have read the question and have tried explaining in terms of how one should be really doing that. Do see that video again to ensure that you're not missing on that. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Just give me a sec. I needed a glass of water, then we'll just jump on. Sorry guys, bad throat. So just wanted to have some water before we really jump in and get on to the other points. Alrighty, now this was the first thing, my friend, that you really needed to have and know from the standpoint of reading skills. Next what? Next is you have to learn how to apply the models, the theory that you have seen and you've learned onto the question. Examiner always says that there is a lack of application skills in terms of student really knowing what the content is and applying to that particular case, to that particular industry and resolving that there and then. We are FinTrammers, sir. We are not gonna be doing that. That is what we really need on. That is what I really expect to. You should not be missing on that. All right, then merely reproducing the material that is given in the question without developing any thoughts and ideas is again a comment that has been given in various examiner reports. One should never do that. You should not reproduce what is being given in the question unless and until it is needed over there. If it is not needed, you should not reproduce. If you're reproducing, reproduce it for a right reason and mention that there and then. Is that clear? Yes, sir. All right. Purely theoretical answers is again something that examiner has been saying. We should not be just giving the theory. This exam is not a theory exam. This exam is a practical application exam. You should be knowing the models. You should be able to apply that model to that particular situation in the exam and then give the examiner a recommendation basis the model, basis the knowledge of the scenario that you have, basis the knowledge of the case that you have, basis the knowledge of the organization that you have, basis the knowledge of the industry that you have. You have to recommend the rightful solution, of course, having that model at the back of your mind, and that's what we have practiced a lot, my friend, in our sessions and of course in the question marathon. I keep saying that like a broken record. You should have to see our revision boot camp at least 2 times, because therein we have practiced the reading skills, writing skills. We have also practiced the professional skills, the application of professional skills. We have also practiced various concept, comprehensive and past examination questions, and also the exam standard questions, just to ensure that you're not letting any stone unturned over there. I would again say you still have 7-8 days. Practice it once more. See those videos one more time. Practice 1 or 2 more mocks. We will be there to give you what you really need from the standpoint of performance review that you have done over there, and then sky should be your limit. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Poor professional skills. Poor professional skills is again a comment that has been thrown up by the examiner at various instances, and you really need to work on that. There are 5 professional skills that are there in the strategic business leader exam. I'm sure you all are aware of now. The important is that you should be able to apply that into various situations that are there in the exam. Students miss on that. Alrighty. Moving on, my friend, moving on, we have the failure to respond to the requirements in a professional or a commercial manner. Remember, my friend, you are a strategic business leader of an organization. You cannot afford to go and have an eye close on the commercial aspects. You have to really understand what is going on in an organization, and you have to really understand what can be the pluses, can be the minuses. What a prudent finance guy would do in that kind of a situation is something that you really need to come up as an answer, and that is something you should always assure on. Then wasting time making irrelevant points. Many of the times, and I can tell you, many of the times students feel, and this was something that happened in one of the mock exam also of late, wherein in the mock exam what student did was that she wrote hell lot of content which was not relevant to the exam scenario or to the case scenario that was given in the mock exam. Now, first comment that I had for her was that intent should not be to write more. Intent should be to write the right content. What is needed by the examiner? You writing 10 more lines would not give you any more marks. If you can explain that in 3 lines, but give the right content in those 3 lines, you're there. Never try to give or count your number of lines that would give you the marks. That's not going to be happening over here. Give the real content, give the needed content, give the hard hitting points, and that is what is needed. You should not be going heavy around in terms of going round the circles and not mentioning the right point and just wasting or eating up too many lines for writing the irrelevant reasons or the issues. That is not going to give you any marks. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Then failing to provide everything that the requirement specified. Now, this is classic. Many of the times, examiner gives you the question in the exam in the strategic business leader, wherein he asks you that considering this, what would be your recommendation? Just giving an example. What would be your recommendation? Along with that, do mention few examples. Or he may, I'm just making out few questions for you, or he may say that considering the scenario, you being the risk manager of an organization, you are required to understand the risk that an organization is exposed to from the external environment standpoint, and also tell the mitigating factors and also recommend the mitigating factors. Now, he has given you 2 jobs over there. 1, to understand the risk. 2, to give the recommendation to mitigate those risks. If you're only mentioning the risk, you're not going to be getting the full marks. If you're only mentioning the recommendation in terms of controlling the risk without citing out the risks that are there, that is again not going to give you the full marks. That is another big time problem. We tend to forget about the and that is there in between the question, wherein the question is asking you 2 and at times 3 requirements, and we're missing on that because we are either asking 1 or 2 but not completing the full circle or completing the full requirements that the question may have. If that is going to be the case, you would certainly lose marks, and that is something I just don't want. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now, this is something, again, there can be some more pointers, if you deep dive on all of the examiner report, but thematically, these are like the wholesome reasons what examiner always says that students have not been doing well because of these reasons in the strategic business leader exam, and that is what we really need to understand and really need to kill on over there. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Some of the professional skills issues, again, many of the students, they feel that they know professional skills, they understand professional skills, but they do not understand how to apply the professional skills when they are writing the exam questions. And that is something we have really covered up very well when we have done the revision boot camp and of course got into these areas. But what I have over here for you is to give you the sense of what the professional skills issues the examiner has been saying and how one should be thinking about it. We'll talk on that in a while in terms of recommendation that I have for it. But what is important over here is that you should know what kind of professional skills issues that are there. Number one, failing to demonstrate the understanding of the needs of the client's business. I always say this in our sessions, in our revision boot camp, that considering the question that you may get to see in the exam, if he has given you a scenario of a cement industry, become a cement player there. If he has given you an example of an airline industry, wear the height of an airline CEO there, CFO there. If he has given you the scenario of a rubber industry, become a rubber CEO there, become a rubber CFO there. If he has given you the let's say gym industry, and this was classic, last exam that we just had, that had a question on the I would say not like a gym, but it was a leisure activity organization wherein they were doing so many things for people at large. It was a healthcare business kind of a stuff that was being mentioned over there. Now, if that is the case, you should really have to wear the hat of what is being thrown out over there to you. The more you will have that hat, the more you would step into the shoe of that industry veteran, the more you would understand in terms of what things may go wrong over there, considering that as the scenario. Rubber industry may have their own nuance, airline industry may have their own nuance, the electrical industry may have their own nuance, and so on and so forth. The more you will step into the shoe of the leadership of that organization, of that industry, you would understand the issue that may go wrong over there. You would understand the nuances of that industry, and you'll be able to write the right content over there. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Not paying attention to the format required. Now, this is something I've been crying for ages now, that you have to know the format. In the strategic business leader exam, you would always have different formats being given to you and different formats being asked from you. He may give you an email, he may give you a press release, he may give you a report, a letter, he may give you a memo, he may give you an email, and so on and so forth. There are so many things that they would give you, and they would want you to also give them back in a particular format. For example, he may want you to write a press release. They may want you to write a report. They may want you to really write a memo. They may want you to make a presentation. They may want you to make the notes of the presentation. Now, when you're doing that, you really need to know the format of all of these nuances, format of all of these areas. And if you'll know that and you'll give the examiner the right format, examiner would certainly understand that you have done the basic, you are really done the professional skills in terms of what is needed as a strategic business of a leader of an organization, and he would certainly give you marks for that. We have practiced hell lot of formats in our sessions, in our revision boot camp, wherein we have practiced not only the exam standard questions, but various past examination questions, picking up various formats that examiner has been asking to the students and then answering that in that particular format. Please see the at least three past exam question videos when you're really revising that. The more you will see that, at least that will cover all the formats that you may get to see in the exam. And when you're seeing that, when you're observing that, have that at the back of your mind, that would certainly be there in your exam. And if that really comes up over there, you have to ensure that. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Moving on, my friend, we have not considering who was receiving the document that they produce. For example, failing to address employees directly in the letter to them. Now, this is classic. Many times examiner gives you a scenario wherein it is very important that you're understanding your audience. You should know who you're really responding to, whether it is the board of directors, whether it is the employee, whether it is the employee union, whether it is the regulator, whether it is the investor, and so on and so forth. So who you are really responding to, if you'll understand that, you would understand what they already know, you would understand what they really need, and then you would answer it accordingly. Understanding your audience is gonna be the key, my friend, and that is something which is very well written over here. And this is again coming from the examiner report that student really misses this on from the professional skill standpoint. Never do that. All right, moving on, my friend, failing to produce the balanced answer. Now, this generally happens when you're really doing any kind of, I would say, evaluation, wherein you have to evaluate the pluses and the minuses. And evaluation skill is again one of the professional skills that you really have to demonstrate over there. And when we have done the evaluation skills in the session, and I would really want you to revise that session once more. If you have done that, you would get to know that I always say, mention the pluses, mention the minuses, upside, downside, both need to be there. And then you should recommend what you think would be the right answer in that kind of scenario. The recommendation should come towards the end, but one should be really writing the pluses, the minuses, the overall balanced argument is required. Examiner is really wanting to see that you are really addressing both the sides of the table in the best possible way. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Alrighty. Last but not the least is the poor time, tone and the content that student at times make. Now, you know what? While we have done various professional skills, I keep saying that, and you would have seen various sessions wherein I have been really highlighting that examiner really expects you to be more of a professional person when you're really writing this exam. You cannot use any kind of slanderous comments or any kind of bad words for anyone, irrespective of the fact that the person is doing the right thing or not. Supposedly, the situation has been given to you for a director wherein director is not doing what he's supposed to do. In that scenario also, you should not be mentioning anything bad about the director. You have to be very professional in terms of the comments, the words that you're using for that director, to ensure that you're looked upon as a professional individual. You're really looked upon as the strategic business leader of an organization, and never miss on that. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Again, what I've done over here is I've just tried collating various pointers that I've seen in various examiner reports, just to give you a summary in terms of where things may go wrong your way, and then you have to work on those areas and ensure that you are not repeating that mistake. Again, my friend, I'll again say that it is always good to learn from your own mistakes, but it is even better to learn from the others' mistake, and that is what we are really doing today. We really do not want that 8 days later, 9 days later, whatever that days is, when we will hit this exam, we should not be struggling it in any which ways. Is that clear? Yes, sir. All right. Moving on, few recommendations that I have. I think I've already covered while explaining the pointers to you. I really want to pen down few things over here that you should not be missing on. All right. Candidate must spend sufficient time in planning. And we have done the time management skill of this exam in our revision boot camp, wherein we have deep dive in terms of how one should be reading, writing, the time management that you really need to ensure. You have to follow that. I would again say revision boot camp has to be revised at least twice before you really sit for your exam, because that would really covers all of these areas. You should not be spending more than 1 hour in terms of reading the exam, and then you should start writing the exam, and you have 3 hours to write the exam. Do justice to all of the questions. Do not let any question being unanswered. You never know where you would lose marks. Many of the students, they're not able to complete the exam in the 4 hours time, and they really struggle. Time management is gonna be the key. Reading the SBL question in the exam in 1 hour is gonna be the challenge, and it's not gonna be easy. That can only happen when more you would practice, at least practice some mocks, practice some past exams, and that is what we always recommend. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Moving on, covering all aspect of the task requirements. I've already spoken on that, and is the word that would differentiate the two requirements. Many times you have to understand that. Structured logically and work on the professional skills. I think we're well covered on that. You should not be missing on the professional skills, and of course be having the general professionalism at large is again gonna be the game changer for you. All right, balance in terms of depth of the discussion required with the number of points to be made. Now, many of the times, I would say many recommendations I see on, on these kind of areas in terms of, how much points you should be writing. And people always say that 2 to 3 marks for 1 point should be considerate and should be the right thing to do. For me, I would say if you have those many points, that is good enough. For example, if it is a question of 10 marks and you're giving 4 to 5 points, it is absolutely fine. But if you do not have 4 to 5 points, but you would have 3 points, just taking an example that you only have 3 points for whatsoever reason, but those 3 points are very relevant, and that those 3 points would be something that examiner would expect for, write those 3 points properly. That may give you good amount of marks. Do not undermine your capability, your content. At times, you never know that examiner only expected those 3 points. So do not be really bogged down that how much you need to write. I would say important is that you should write the right content. Is that clear? Yes, sir. All right. Covering the most important points. Now, this is something I have demonstrated also while practicing few questions in the marathon, that you should not write the irrelevant point first and relevant points later. That's the basic professionalism, right? You have to write the hard hitting point first, then it can be medium, then it can be the low level kind of a points. But important is that you're not missing on the prime points to start the answer. That's the basic. Many of the students really miss on that. That is where examiner really wants to kill you. All right, then what? Not padded out with the material that would not address the requirement. Again, not really writing what is not needed. Just writing more and more stuff over there is not gonna be giving you good marks. Important is that you are able to write the right content, and I keep saying that like a broken record. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Alrighty. Moving on, not making the same point 2 times. You should always know you have told examiner once and that is enough. You should not be repeating that again and again. That is not required. Practice the past exam questions, my friend. And this is gonna be the super important thing. You tend to miss on that. Many of the students tend to miss on that. That is a blunder. Practice the past exam questions. We have covered a lot in a marathon. That is a ready-made tool that is being provided to you. Practice that marathon at least once more. We still have 7-8 days. Marathon will not take that much more time. Practice the past exam questions. Write few past exam questions by your own hand. Try it by your own hand, and I'm sure that would give you a very, very different level of confidence. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Then practice some mock exams. I can tell you this is a big time problem that I've seen, especially with the professional level student. They feel that they know it all. They have done all. They have done the syllabus areas. They have seen the past exam, and that is enough. They don't have to practice the mock exam. I would say you are heading towards playing with your own future. Please do not do that. Practice couple of mocks before you really sit for your exam. Take a rational professional review in terms of what is happening in your exam. What is that you're doing in that answer sheet? Get the right feedback. Improve on that, go and hit the exam, and I'm sure you would be treating me with a cup of coffee. I can request you, I have been requesting you, please give couple of mocks. That would give you a very, very different level of confidence. Just go and check out with any of the people who have really gone ahead and cleared the exam. They would always recommend that. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Alrighty. Now that is what I really wanted to cover, my friend, because I really wanted this last session that we are having before the exam to have the, I would say, the last nail in a coffin kind of thing for you, that should give you the flavor as to where the students have been struggling. It's like a reminder that I have for you. Do not do this mistake. Do not do this mistake. Do not do this mistake. Please. It is like that. Please do not do these mistakes. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now coming on to the Q&A, my friend. Coming on to the question that you may have for me, concerns that you may have that I can really resolve out. I've also given my email ID over here and my WhatsApp contact, wherein you can reach out to me if there is any concerns, any question. But this is something I really wanted to pick on, because I really wanted to talk on any kind of questions, concerns that you may have. We still have 1 week left. I can still, I would say, help you improve yourself before you hit your exam. And of course, come up with the flying colors, and of course, treat me with a cup of coffee when you have your result in your hand. With that, my friend, I'll open up, and of course, now have some glass, a glass of water for myself, and would want you to ask any questions that you may have, so that I can really pick it up. Any questions, my friend, that you may have? Yeah, Ishan, go ahead. Ishan says, what is the proper amount of time that is needed to revise before the exam? Now, Ishan, it really depends. it really depends how much you have prepared yourself, how prepared you feel yourself to be from the standpoint of covering the syllabus areas, from the standpoint of covering the professional skills, from the standpoint of knowing the reading skills, writing skills, the formats, and so on and so forth. How prepared you feel yourself to be. Considering, and again I'm just assuming, considering that I'm hoping that now it is only 1 week left and you should be reasonably prepared with all of these things. Now is the time wherein you should be giving a glance over the topics, and of course just getting onto the highlighted areas that you may have done when you were reading for the first time. Like you would have seen that when we do our sessions, and not sure if you have seen all the sessions, but when you'll see when we go through our sessions, we highlight few important areas that are needed to be picked up. Those highlighted areas certainly needs to be gone through again. Of course, knowing the highlighters, the important pointers in terms of what is relevant in that particular topic, revising that would certainly help. And of course, then quickly moving on to the professional skills and then practicing the questions. The more you practice the questions, the best you are from the standpoint of really knowing as to what may go wrong your way. If I have to give you some kind of a timeline towards it in terms of how much time you really need to revise the content and practice the exam questions, I think 7 to 10 days. 7 days is something I can reasonably expect that you would need from the standpoint of revising all of the content, and 2 to 3 days to really practice the questions, give some mocks, get ready with it, provided you have done the content rightfully by now. I hope that helps, Ishan. Any other questions, my friend? All right, thank you, Ishan. All right, Karam says how much time to spend on each question. Karam, there is a math that we use that I have always spoken out in our sessions that this is how one should be really progressing and answering that in the exam. I think when you are thinking through answering a particular question in the exam, 2 minutes per marks is something you should be really be spending on. For example, if it is a question of 24 marks, I'm just giving an example, you should not be taking more than 48 minutes. Just to give you, this effectively means that, in an SBL exam, you effectively have to write for like what? For 80 marks you need to write. If you multiply it by 2, you will be getting 160 minutes, and effectively you have 180 minutes to write the entire exam. So that leaves you with the 20 minutes left for yourself, and that should be good enough time to revise or probably go back to any question that you have unanswered. That should be good enough a time. So 2 minutes per marks is something I always recommend, that one should be really spending out time in the exam in terms of really coming up with a flying color. Alrighty. Or any specific area in the SBL syllabus that is must? No, Manpreet, there is no specific areas that is must. Anything and everything in the strategic business leader exam is must. Please note the topic picking, the area picking in the strategic business leader exam is not going to be helpful to anyone. You have to revise the entire content. You cannot just pick up the topic and of course leave some. You never know, examiner really ask anything from anywhere. In fact, this is an exam which is not based on topics, but it is based on understanding of the overall organizational issues, and that is the reason you should be knowing all the topics. You may not be knowing everything in great detail, that is absolutely fine, but you should know in terms of what things are there from the standpoint of really knowing them, understanding them, correlating them to various organizational scenarios. The topic picking is something I completely say that it is not the right thing to happen. Manpreet, please do not do that. Please do not leave any topic. You have to cover it all. You have to cover all the topics. You cannot choose and move on. Is that clear? Yes, sir. All right. Do you expect any particular topics? We it's unfair to say that we what we expect. It is not right to say. Every time examiner in the strategic business leader exam gives up a very different area, gives up a very different topic to the students, and they have to think about it there and then. There are no specific topics that I would recommend. That would be wrong on my part to say. Any notes? Okay, Sadashiv says how to specifically use the answer format. Any notes related to the format of report to the director, shareholder, or memo? Yes, Sadashiv, there are various formats that are there in terms of reports, in terms of letters, in terms of memos, emails, and so on and so forth. We have discussed all of those format at length in our sessions in our revision boot camp too, and again we have practiced question over there in terms of you getting to know in terms of what all formats you really need to refer, what all format examiner has been asking. You can reach out to FinTram. If you have not enrolled yourself, you can reach out to them and of course take their help in terms of knowing all of those areas, and they should be happy to help on. But all I can tell you is that there are various formats that are there in the strategic business leader exam, and you really have to know in terms of how to interpret, understand, and of course give back the examiner exactly what he needs. And that's what we really aspire for. That's what we really prepare for before you really sit for exam. Very important. Examiner really tests you there. Okay, Aman says, where will I get the past exam questions with solution? Oh, Aman, it is already there on the ACCA website. You just have to go and log in over there. You just go on ACCA website, and I think you have to go on to the student and then study support resource. Once you'll go on there, you have to choose out the syllabus area, which is in your case strategic business leader exam, and in that you would get the examiner report. You would also get the past exam papers, their solution, and of course one thing not to be forgotten, I think I've not mentioned it till now, you would also get the technical articles over there. There are various technical articles in the strategic business leader exam that you are expected to be covering, and of course to the FinTrammers, to the folks who have already seen the FinTram sessions, they would know that we have already covered all of those technical articles in our sessions, so you don't have to go in over there. But the folks who are not taking sessions from us and of course seeing us for the first time, just go and log on to ACCA website and of course see the examiner reports, go through the technical articles over there, and of course past exam papers also. To the FinTrammers, we have covered the past exam papers in our revision boot camp. So there is absolutely no need going anywhere. Just log on to the revision boot camp, have a look over there, of course, look out over there, and of course solutions are also being given in a video format wherein I have myself solved those questions, giving you all the tips and tricks needed. So just have a look on that. MSLL, do you provide invoices of your courses? Need it to submit to my employer? Of course. Just go ahead and check out on the FinTram.com. If you would have purchased the course directly from FinTram, the invoice would have been sent to you directly. If you have purchased it over the phone, just ask for the invoice and they should be able to help you out. Sadashiv says, I have purchased the books. Now I need guidance on the format. If you have purchased a book, Sadashiv, that should have the format also. Any learning provider, be it BPP, Kaplan, or whosoever, they have various formats being given up over there. Have a look on that. That should really gives you all the details. If you need any help, you can of course take the FinTram's revision boot camp. That is again a separate product that is available, and I'll show you a few slides after that. That is again a separate product that is available. You can have that revision boot camp and of course go through that. That would give you the details of the format too. All right, guys. Any other questions that you may have? Happy to really answer there. All right. Karam says, want to practice some mock. Can you help? Really struggling to complete my mock in 4 hours. Not able to finish. Karan, this is not, this is not something very specific to you. This is a very common problem that students have in SBL, that they're not able to complete the exam in 4 hours, and I have already mentioned that. all I would say is that practice, practice and practice. You still have 7 days. Practice as much as possible, my friend. Go through few more, past exams, read them out and see, how much time you're taking to complete. Start writing about them and start, writing the answers about it, and then see in terms of, where you're going wrong, what more you can do over there. Compare it with the answer that are already being given by ACCA and see what all things you have not included. See the time that you're taking in terms of, what you're really answering it over there. That would help you improve your time management. I would again say, if you have already taken the revision boot camp, go through the revision boot camp. That would tell you your time management skills in terms of how to manage time while reading, how to manage time while writing, how to ensure that professional skills are included, how to ensure that you are able to give the due emphasis to the stress word, how to relate one exhibit to the other. All of these things are being well discussed in the revision boot camp, and that should help you in terms of knowing all of those areas and of course correlating that when you will hit the exam. So you can of course take the help. You can reach out to FinTram.com, reach out to FinTram team, and they should be able to help you out. But important is that you have to practice, my friend. Practice at least 3-4 mocks. Practice the past exam papers. That should certainly raise your confidence. We are on time, guys. Any other questions anyone may have, would be happy to pick it up. Any other questions, guys, anyone may have? I can still give you 1 or 2 more minutes. That's absolutely fine if anyone may have any questions that I really can answer. MSLL says, do you recommend an APM course? I don't know what does that mean, MSLL. Why would I recommend any APM course? I'm not clear on that. I'm not clear on the question. If your question is that, is APM is the right choice with the strategic business leader exam, then I can tell you yes, that is the right choice, because SBL and APM has various similarities in the topics. If that is the question, then yes, APM and SBL is the right choice to be taken up together or one after the other. That is certainly helpful. So for example, if you're taking SBL now, APM can be the next topic or next exam to be taken up, because that would have a lot of similarities with the content that you've already covered in the strategic business leader exam. That certainly makes sense. If that is the question, I really don't know if that is. Ishan says, what should be the mindset before exam? I always get panic before exam. You're no different, Ishan. I'm the same. I was also very much panicked before. I was panicky, any time before the exam. So there is no reason for not to be so. The only thing is, I would say practice and practice as much as possible. Believe in yourself, and of course when you're going to exam room, touch the feet of your mom and dad. That is super important thing. That has really helped me in my life. And of course pray to the God to give you the best. That's the mantra I have, and that's really worked for me. That should also work for you. Aman says, I struggle applying professional skills. How to excel in the same? Aman, there is no right mantra for it in terms of, how one should be applying the professional skills. I would say read out all the 5 professional skills, understand the content as to what the examiner expects in those professional skills, take out few past examination questions, and always see that, professional skill is always given with reference to. So if there is that, then you should think that, while you're doing that task, for example, they may give you professional skills. They may give you a question which says that apply the analysis skill with reference to the overall, let's say, pestle analysis or overall risk analysis. Now that effectively means that when you're doing the risk analysis, you have to apply the analysis skill. So you have to ensure that you're not missing on any pointers within the exhibits. You're not missing on the background of the case. You're understanding your audience rightly. So once you understand what is needed in the analysis skill, and then you're understanding how the analysis skill is being asked with reference to what, easier it becomes for you to apply the skill over there. We have practiced a lot on that in our revision bootcamp. If you are a FinTram student, just go and watch out for revision bootcamp again, and I'm sure that should really answer any and every query that you may have in relation to applying the professional skills in the exam. Okay, MSL says from FinTram. So do you recommend an APM course from FinTram? Of course. APM course in FinTram is being given by Vishnu Vijay sir. He's outstanding in terms of the content that he delivers. A very well-renowned faculty. I would say just go and and take his demo session of APM, and I'm sure you'll understand the content and the way he's delivering and helping students around the globe. I certainly recommend. Amru says, if we use our common sense, if we are not sure of the answer, can we get the marks? Okay. Amru, effectively, what you're saying is contradicting to yourself. So what you're saying is that you're using your common sense and then you're not sure of your answer. That is not a common sense, right? Effectively, I have a question in front of me. I'm thinking about that question. And I'm thinking about what can be the right answer. I'm applying my common sense there that this would be the right answer basis what all I know, and basis the common sense and the basic acumen that I have. This is the right answer. That has to be the right answer. In the exam, he is not asking any kind of rocket science. He'll give you a scenario and he'll want you to get into that scenario and take the decision there and then. And if you're applying your basic sense of knowledge along with your commonsensical traits, you would always get the right answer. You may not get it 100% right. That's fine. But if you're getting 60-70% right, it is absolutely fine. That is the reason, do not think too much. Get on to the scenario, understand the business, understand the industry, understand the issue at hand, understand who your audience is, understand the role that is being given to you, understand what would you do in that kind of a scenario, write it in a plain vanilla English, and get out and go home and take rest. You would clear the exam. Is that clear, Amu? Yes, sir. Answer says, which optional paper is easier, APM or ATX? It's unfair to say anything over here. Some people will say APM is easier and some people will say ATX is easier. So there is, I would not comment on this. It just depends on, what your liking is and where are you from the standpoint of your interest area. So I'll park that. You have to choose what you think is best for you. All right, guys, I think we are just 10 minutes over the time. We'll wrap it up over here. I would say thank you very much for your time. I hope this session was helpful in terms of taking out your queries and answering them there and then, and of course resolving them. You have to come up with the flying colors, and of course when you're out, you have to treat me with a cup of coffee, and that is certainly due on you. Now that is what I wanted to cover, my friend. I do have few slides to really show you in terms of what the FinTram is offering from the standpoint of their sessions. So from the FinTram standpoint, the FinTram SBL course standpoint, what you would get is the fully interactive video sessions that we have, the class questions that we really cover, getting on to various topics. We have various practical situations from the industry standpoints that are being covered well in detail in our sessions. We do have webinars like this, wherein we talk on and of course get on to and get into the details. We have live Q&A sessions, and of course real-time connectivity with the faculty is always there to ensure that you're not going haywire. You also have the revision boot camp, my friend, wherein we'll cover, we have discussed at length by now, wherein we'll talk on the concept, comprehensive, exam standard, past exam questions, along with the reading skills, writing skills, professional skills, and whatnot. We try to cover a lot over there to ensure that you're not missing on anything. And then what we have is that we also solve the past examination questions, giving you all the tips and tricks that you need from the standpoint of clearing this exam in the best possible way. And last but not the least is the mock exam that we provide you to ensure that you're not missing on your own practice. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now the question that really comes up at times is that, sir, would I be getting the performance review of my mock exam? Absolutely yes, you would get the performance review in terms of what have you done and how are you really doing in your exam, so that you can really improve on and really get on, and of course cover the gaps that you may get to see over there. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Then these are the products that are available. If you're giving your SBL exam for the first time, we have the SBL full course being available, wherein you get the full course sessions. Along with that, you also get the revision boot camp. But if you really need only the revision boot camp, then Strategic Business Leader Revision Boot Camp as a standalone product is also available. You can of course have a look on that too. We also provide the Strategic Business Leader Memory Chart. Now this is something I would say we have self-created for various students across the globe, wherein we have tried explaining the entire Strategic Business Leader syllabus area sessions in the diagrams, pictorials, and of course flowcharts that are very relevant from the standpoint of knowing and of course having that at the back of your mind, because pictorial or video or the graphics certainly stays in our mind for a much longer period of time. We have ensured that less of theory is there, but you are being explained on each and every topic with the help of flowchart, diagram and whatnot to ensure that really sticks on onto your mind. I am giving you the link of all of these products and of course description of all of these products below this video, so have a look on that. There is a specific video that is being created for the memory charts. Have a look on that. Have a look in terms of how memory charts really look like. All right, then for the folks who are repeating Strategic Business Leader for whatsoever reason, you may have not been able to clear it, we have a special course being crafted for you, that is the Repeaters Fast Track course, which is being crafted and drafted in a way that would give you the complete sense of what is needed from the standpoint of Strategic Business Leader curriculum. And of course we have covered the areas in terms of how should you be excelling in the Strategic Business Leader exam, covering the mistakes that students have been doing and not clear, and due to which they are not able to clear the Strategic Business Leader exam. We have ensured that the Repeaters Fast Track course really covers all the relevant areas that are needed to you, and of course it gives you the fast track revision of the entire syllabus area curriculum. It comes up with the revision boot camp too. Revision boot camp is there in this product. You can certainly have a look on that. If you really want to buy revision boot camp only, then that is also available, and memory charts, as I said, is also available. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now that is what we have in terms of our product being available for you. If you need any query, you have any query or concerns, you can of course reach out to us. Number is being given. You can also email us. You can visit our website fintram.com, and I have also given my WhatsApp number to ensure if you have any query, you can reach out to us and we'll be happy to help out. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now that is what I wanted to cover, my friend. I hope this was helpful. I would see you again in the next one. Till then, I would really want to wish you all the best. Come up with the flying colors, my friend. You are there. Just maintain some more confidence in yourself. Practice as much as possible in these 7, 8, 10 days. And I'm sure sky would be a little bit for you. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now that's what I wanted to cover. I'd see you again in the next one. Till then, this is Pankaj Dhingra signing off. I wish you all the very best.